Manus AI, DuckDuckGo AI, WordPress AI, and Predictive Markets under fire. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Slack. Discussions, questions, and answers, and a place to talk tech with your friends. The MacVoices Slack is available to all patrons of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices and join in. Well, hey, guess what? Claude is not the only one. Meta has launched Manus that will turn your Mac into an AI agent.
What could
if you were afraid of Claude, I mean, run right over to Facebook or Meta and fire up Manus, MANUS. I don't even know what to say to that.
Well, take off the M and you've got the perfect analogy.
Oh my God.
Okay. Thank you for that, guy.
You're welcome.
They really have to do something about their branding, because every new project that comes along, it's sort of like, okay, so what are they stealing from me now and selling?
You know, there are a bunch of 13-year-old boys just laughing their butts off right now.
Yeah.
And Guy.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to pigeonhole you, but
it's kind of my thing.
If the shoe fits, yeah.
Yeah.
I am curious though. Meta has or had Llama, which I had zero experience with for what I think are obvious reasons. Did anybody here play with Llama at all?
I played with Llama in LM Studio.
Yeah.
So totally contained.
Okay.
And yeah, it worked. Like so many of the models that you play with, you need to use them in the right context. So in the right context, Llama worked just fine.
And Jeff, I know, it's not like this was supposed to be homework that you were supposed to test it out, but in your recollection, any better, any worse than anything else, or just about equivalent?
So it was equivalent.
Didn't embarrass itself.
No. And it's not like I was going to ask Llama to vibe code for me, because that's not what it does. So I'd rather use if I'm going to do some vibe coding, which I'm not, then I'd probably want Claude to take care of that for me. But if I want to have the most robust like document creation, then I'm going to go to ChatGPT for that. And so you learn which models work best for what you need, and then use them for that. Like Perplexity, that's really great for research.
Okay. Yeah. It's just, unfortunately, at least in my mind, Meta has been now tagged, and I question the motives behind everything it does because of its history, of its demonstrated history.
That's fair.
Yeah. This one might be a little more palatable. WordPress now lets AI agents write and publish posts and more. So you can have your AI access your WordPress site and write posts for you and publish them. Now, yes, there's some obvious things that could go really wrong there, but okay, maybe, it might be fun to play with it and see.
All right, I can't keep my mouth shut any longer. What do you mean this is more lighthearted? This is horrible.
Okay, Jeff.
Okay, the concept is great. You have all of this stuff that you want to share with the world, but you just don't have time to write all of it. So you're already using WordPress. Why not let it take that information and create all the posts for you? Okay, great. The reality is, when you're letting AI create the content that everyone's reading on the web, you're getting the sort of content we're seeing a lot of already, which is AI slop. Content where where it comes out as basically styrofoam. So there's words there, but there's no value and there's no meaning. The AI tools we have today are not at a point where they can write those truly meaningful, insightful posts that you really want them to create. So what Automatic is doing with AI in WordPress, while the idea is really great, our technology isn't at the point yet where it's going to give us quality output. It's just going to be more blogs with more hollow content out there. And that's not what we need. Okay, I'm off my soapbox for now.
Jeff, I will confess, I didn't exactly think of it in those terms. I thought more about it being something that I could feed it in a controlled fashion and then let it sort of do the grunt work of publishing it.
Now, for you, what you just described, that's a much more reasonable use case. The reality is that's not what's going to happen. People are going to just let their WordPress site churn out content for them, and they're not going to be looking to see what it wrote. It's just, oh, this is great. I've relieved myself of so much workload, and I have all the content going to my site. I'm going to have great SEO, and I'm going to sell all the things. And the reality is, people are not going to get that out of a tool like this at this stage in the LLM growth process.
Okay, I think your observations are very fair. And again, I hadn't looked at it. I hadn't looked at the way to possibly abuse it. I was honestly thinking about more the way to use it. For example, we're playing with this whole new show notes concept tonight. So wouldn't it be great if I could throw a bunch of links at it and say, format the links in this fashion, build me this page and publish it to my WordPress site.
That's a reasonable use case right there.
Right. No analysis, no explanation, no commenting. Just, this is what I want. Here's the raw material. Process it and fire it through. But of course I'm biased because of my own uses. That I could see doing it, but I can also easily see what you're talking about. Who was the company that they said they wanted to put out create 1,000 AI generated podcasts on YouTube or something? I'd forgotten now the story. But,
yeah.
You know the one I mean. And it's like
Notebook LM.
I think that was one of the tools, Marty. I don't know that was them, but yeah. So yeah, Jeff, as usual, Jeff brings up some really good points.
I'm the guy that shows up and just craps all over your great idea, and I do apologize for that.
Jeff, I know you're joking, but no, I think you teach us. Just like I gave you a use case, you came back at me and said, "Here's an abuse case," and I think both are legit. But we each need to think about our respective positions. So. But if we haven't had enough AI, we got one more, and that is that DuckDuckGo has now added reasoning models to their DuckAI. I think it was either last week or the week before that we talked about DuckDuckGo putting an AI image processor in. Now they've added reasoning models. I have not played with this. The reading I've been doing says that DuckDuckGo is probably the best thing out there if you're privacy minded. Because of their pedigree in privacy, but that's what I've read. That doesn't mean I'm accurate on it. So, anybody here use DuckDuckGo on any kind of consistent basis?
Yeah, I use it some.
Okay.
I use it some.
Oh, okay. We have a bunch of sometimes. Brian, I think yours was the first hand up, so I'm guessing maybe you're the one that uses it most.
Well, I don't use it for necessarily the AI aspect. But I actually have it as my default search when I search for things.
Okay. I think I'm right because I think I signed up for it and then never used it. But they had a privacy-oriented email service that was free that you could get at DuckDuck or at DuckGo or whatever email address.
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I had it as my default search for a good fraction of a year, and I realized I was just like taking each individual search over to Google almost every single time. So
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing this for?
Yep.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I get interesting results that didn't actually get me the thing that I needed. So I'd have to do the same search in Google, weed through their crap, but it would be after the crap, what I was looking for was the top hit.
Barry in the chat room said DuckDuckGo is his default engine on all devices. So that's pretty impressive, Barry. And I'm going to assume that you're satisfied with it, or you wouldn't have added it to all your devices and made it your default. So I've played with it. Jeff, my experience sounds like yours, that I was kind of satisfied, but not completely.
Yeah, it was good, but not good enough.
Yeah, and then had to supplement it. Man, I can't believe it. We're actually plowing through stuff tonight.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of off the beaten path a little bit, but we talked about it a little while back. The predictive market things that now the Arizona Attorney General sues Kalshi on illegal gambling charges. And I believe there was another one that said that the Kalshi is now banned in Nevada. Big surprise there. So, Brian, have you heard anything specific? I know you live in Arizona. Is this making headlines out there more than anywhere else, or?
No, I wasn't as familiar with it, but the prediction market in of itself it's tough because you want to make sure that it's from a regulation standpoint that there isn't the ability to have insider information and the ability to gamble on something and make money off of it. Obviously has to be extremely, extremely tight in order for it to be fair and a true gamble to see if you're going to win. So you could see that there could be a lot of holes poked in this, I suppose, in this type of thing. So.
Yeah, well, just literally tonight on the way home, I was listening to some of the news podcasts, and now the betting sites, the predictive market sites are putting guardrails in about betting on things like the Iranian war and on preventing professional athletes from betting on their own performance in their own games. And so this whole thing has taken on a life of its own. And this was the first lawsuit that I've seen, but I think it's going to be real interesting to see how quickly they can get it regulated and whether that will kill it or not. Anybody here placing any bets on anything?
Not that kind of stuff. No.
Ooh, okay. Marty.
Yeah, I heard an interesting interview with someone who was talking about these predictive markets and its interaction with sports. And it might be great that the sports athletes can't place bets directly, but this doesn't prevent someone with undue influence to say, we're going to do a predictive market on whether you strike out in the third inning. And that within that athlete's performance won't be recognized like throwing a game. It'll be, well, he just struck out in the third. So the predictive markets, the way people are using these and the potential for abuse is just incredible in undue influence in sports markets.
Yeah. Brian?
Well, you had asked about betting, and I'm not allowed to bet on the NFL because if you own any ownership stake in a team, you're not allowed to. And I own a very, 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 very small slice of the 13-time champion Green Bay Packers.
Whoopi,
You know-
one share, which is worth nothing.
There's not a Green Bay Packer fan who doesn't say
doesn't.
that.
And they have it.
Everybody,
I've seen the certificate. I had a
they
coworker that had
constantly
it.
remind
Sorry.
people
I don't
they
want.
are. Yeah,
I just don't want Roger Goodell to come to my door.
And how much?
I
you
can
pay for
guarantee
that?
you that won't happen. Yeah.
For a
That's a
second, I
souvenir.
bought it.
I was
bought
going
it,
to take the
Brian.
bet. So.
I've seen it. I've seen it. A coworker had it. He had it mounted. He had it mounted on the wall of his office, and I asked
I
him.
have mine, yeah.
Oh no, they just give those out as they just give those out. It's just all this is you own nothing.
Well, the Green Bay Packers is very interesting because it is a publicly owned entity and
Right.
not privately owned. So, compared to all the other NFL teams out there, they're a very unique model. So,
and they
So,
never
Brian,
let you
I'm
forget
with you.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, you got me because I thought, holy cow, Brian is hiding himself here. We didn't know that he's. I mean, I knew you were a Packers fan, but come on now.
There's Don't fool yourself. Don't be fooled.
Eric,
I guess the other thing about the whole predictive market, when everybody brings up, well, they need to add some regulation, they need to do a little bit more to kind of protect things, but there isn't anything really blocking politicians from participating. And I think that's one of the biggest abuses that come in is, knowing that there's going to be a rule change or a new law or some market is going to be affected that nobody else knows about, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of movement in the predictive markets, the thing happens and a bunch of money is made. So I think until you can get politician families out of the predictive market, it just seems like it's a bad idea. It just hasn't caught up enough to blow up to the point where it's stopped.
yeah, it just there was I'm pretty sure it was CBS Sunday Morning that did a piece on Kalshi, and it was very interesting to see, kind of what the way they were selling it as something legitimate and something useful to society. Because it allegedly, according to them, accurately predicted presidential elections, congressional elections, a number of social things, because of the way that the people were betting on them. And so it almost was like, okay, if they're paying that much attention to it, then it must be swinging this way. But you talk about being rife with opportunities for abuse. I mean, it puts Claude Code in the shade. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.